We hold the hand out in all long guard positions, but exactly where you place it on this horizontal axis changes everything. Different hand positions or hand slots put different punches online and potentiate different long guard tools. If you want to be a competent long guard fighter, you need to know your options from each position, so you can always take the right one for the task at hand. That's what today's video is all about. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to show you what tools, threats, and opportunities are available from each of these 3 sub-positions so you can assess your long guard skill set, fill any gaps, and better understand the drills coming in the future. If you saw this video for beginners, you'll know this position as position 1 in the long guard system, or LG1. However, there's a lot more to know about this position than this one hand slot. Advanced fighters should recognize this as a sub-position of LG1, which we will be calling LG1A, the A position, the A slot, or to be more descriptive, lead lane control. It looks like this, with your lead hand reaching straight out toward the opponent's hand on that side, using good jab mechanics, but usually with the palm facing forward in a parrying shape, unless you're threatening a punch. Exactly how you hold your hand and how far you extend it depends on what you're trying to accomplish in that moment. For example, pins, pries, and shoves will usually need more extension than traffic, measurements, and feints. Likewise, LG1A's rear hand position varies depending on what you're trying to do, but suffice to say, it needs to be on defensive duty and closely guarding against the opponent's free hand directly across the way. But more on this later. As the name suggests, lead lane control is all about controlling the punch lane on your lead side, and like all positions we'll be covering today, it takes control using proactive disruptions. In order to stay safe, we need to stay busy with defensive traffic and feints, and we need to aggressively target the hand straight across from ours with pins, pushes, pulls, and light punches. In fact, the only times you should stop these proactive defenses and hand disruptions is when you're out of range or you want to bait the opponent into attacking apparent openings. Otherwise, your defense should be focused on not allowing the opponent to punch. Unlike the other positions we'll be covering today, however, the A position goes all in on disrupting just one of the opponent's hands, the one directly across from your lead, and what we're calling the lead side for simplicity's sake. In same stance matchups, that's their rear hand. In opposite stance matchups, it's their lead. Let's talk a bit more about what you can do with this degree of lead lane control. With its focus on lead side control, the A position is the best position to take if you want to step, slip, or throw your head left with a power punch. That's to the right for our southpaw listeners. Why? Because anytime you take the A position, your lead hand covers the collision punch, and you get instant access to crossing guard techniques on that side. As discussed in this video, the term crossing guard refers to a package of lane control techniques that facilitate safe movement and prevent collisions anytime you step, slip, or twist toward the opponent's hand. Like a crossing guard stop sign, your lead hand is there to halt any oncoming traffic in the lane you want to cross. This lead side lane control doesn't happen automatically, of course. Opponents will try to punch through your stop sign, but your hand will be in a very good position to block, parry, or lift attacks coming that way. And don't forget the rest of the crossing guard package. Light lead hand punches thrown from the A slot and targeting the glove can also close the lead hand lane before you cross, as the opponent's hands are either knocked out of position or kept busy with defense. If you're close enough, you may even be able to pin the opponent's glove in place with a hand trap, shutting down the lane entirely, more roadblock than crossing guard. You can also grab the opponent's glove and use it like a handle, pulling or pushing yourself into steps or pivots out to your lead hand side, with the added bonus of knocking them a little off balance. Whether you want to step, pivot, or roll out to the lead hand side, the crossing guard package keeps you safe while you move through the collision zone, making it hard for the opponent to punch with the hand you're moving towards.
Is what I call the collision punch. The collision punch. You know, if fighters move this way, you throw the punch into them.
Crossing guards also set up safe offense. In fact, the A position is one of the best for bombing with the rear hand. Anytime you control the lane, occupy the hand, or pin it in place, you are free to twist your body and head into rear-handed power shots without having to worry about running into a punch on that side. Against same stance fighters, this means you can throw your rear cross, hook, or uppercut with much less risk of running into one of theirs. In opposite stance matchups, it means you can throw those same shots without running into short jabs and hooks. The crossing guard basically stops any front-end counterpunches from the hand on that side. With its default traffic position and emphasis on lead side lane control, the A position is very strong in the hand fight, particularly against opposite stance opponents. In fact, it's a primary hand fighting position in opposite stance matchups, where fighters fence for jab lane dominance, looking for high ground, crossing guards, timing traps, and control of no man's land. But the A position is not just for opposite stance hand fighting. It also comes into play in same stance matchups, especially if they reach forward with the backhand and you need something to address it. This is also where you'll find one of my favorite pry options to land the cross. Your lead hand will often reach parallel or even past their lead as you work disruptions on their backhand. From here, you can curl your hand back and rip their lead glove down from behind to create a big opening for your cross. This is especially useful if your opponent is aggressively looking to hand fight with a long lead. Rather than playing into what they want, you bypass that fight altogether and ambush the hand from behind. So we've established that the A position does a great job of disrupting one of the opponent's hands, the one opposite your lead. But what about their other hand, the one opposite your back glove? To the horror of beginners and YouTube comment experts, the A position offers no defensive traffic or control of that hand, leaving the opponent completely free to punch on that side. In fact, it is the only position of the three today to leave one hand completely unchecked. But while this lack of hand and lane control might seem like a weakness, and it does get the "I'll just try it in sparring" crowd in trouble, it's actually one of the A position's greatest strengths, allowing us to bait, draw, and counter our opponent's punches. If you know how to use it, you can partly control your opponent's punch timing and selection, and make them very gun-shy very quickly. The idea is simple. Leave the opponent with a limited set of punch options, and invite them to punch where we want, when we want. As you know by now, when you take the A position, you take control of the lead side lane, discouraging punches with aggressive traffic, or stopping them outright with hand traps, handles, shoves, and punches of your own. As a result, this position greatly reduces the odds of your opponent attacking on that side, since there are so many obstacles and lines of defense in the way.
Straight away, automatically, you think, I can't throw my right hand. Straight away, because you know the line of your right hand isn't there.
This happens right away, and the more you shut down their attempts to punch through that traffic as the fight goes on, the more discouraged they'll get. From the opponent's perspective, it makes a lot more sense to attack you with their other hand, the one you aren't disrupting. It's the path of least resistance, and they're more likely to take it. So this is the first way we influence our opponent's punch selection, by making it hard to punch with one hand, but easy to punch with the other. But we can do better. We can influence their punch selection even more. All it takes is a small adjustment with your rear hand. As mentioned early on in this section, the rear hand must be vigilant on defensive duty in LG1A, because outside of your foot and head movement, it's the only thing stopping the opponent's free hand from hitting you. But its position is not fixed. Rather, it moves depending on what you're trying to accomplish, or in this case, on what punch you're trying to take away. For example, if you want the opponent to throw a hook, you must open the door to that punch while closing all others. That's where the rear hand comes in. To draw the hook, hold it open in the path of the opponent's free hand, 4 to 6 inches in front of your face on the straight punch line in a parrying shape. Your opponent already has no attacks on your lead side except for a low percentage long range hook to the body. They could try an overhand, but it's slower, looping, and tough to lead with. And plus your elbow is right there for an easy lift parry. And now, they have nothing available on your rear side, except for the hook you want them to throw. The jab line is closed. If they're going to lead with something serious, chances are it'll be a hook. So prime your hook defense and your counter of choice, then walk to your opponent in this position. Similarly, if you want to make your opponent throw a straight punch, you need to give them no other option. So block the path of the hook and leave a nice big gap down the middle. With only one hand free to punch and one good target, chances are they'll accept your invitation and fire a straight punch down the pipe. In fact, this is one of the main ways I will use the A position in same stance matchups. It's also a great way to get inside, draw the jab, and step in under it while you keep the opponent's right hand offline. It's not a perfect science. They can still go to the body from here, or try to punch over, under, through, or around your guarding hands, but these are some of the best odds you'll find in boxing as far as punch prediction goes. The A position's main strengths are definitely its lead side lane control, its crossing guards, and its draw and counter capabilities. But this is not all it has to offer. While not set up for instant head control as readily as the B position, and while not as good a bulldozer as the C position, the A position does offer some excellent posture breaking capabilities. Specifically, it's great for finding opportunistic collar tie style controls and snap downs, since your lead hand is often close to their head and neck. If the opponent slips, ducks, falls into a punch, or brings the head forward at all, they're basically giving you the collar tie. Drop your hand down on their head, get heavy, and be a bully. Furthermore, you can shove the opponent from here, using the hand opposite your lead as a point of contact, anytime you want to knock them off balance and out of fighting posture. Your hand will already be close to theirs while working its usual disruption duty, so throw in a bit of shoving when opportunities present themselves. You can shove straight into the hand, like you're jabbing, or you can shove them sideways with more of a hooking motion. In summary, the A position is the place to be if you want to do any of the following. Number 1, impede punches on your lead hand side. The A position stops straight punches outright and leaves your arm in a good position to lift and parry overhands away. Number 2, draw and counter punches on your rear hand side. I use this position most often to draw and counter the jab and hook in same side matchups. Number 3, close the gap. Using the same drawing technique, I invite the opponent to jab and step in under it, all while keeping their rear hand covered with my lead. Number 4, exit safely on your lead hand side. The crossing guard package will keep you safe as you move through the collision zone. Number 5, throw safe power punches and stop trading with the rear hand. Use the crossing guard package to prevent collisions and front end counters. Number 6, break posture and bully. Look for opportunities to grab collar tie control or shove into your opponent's rear hand to break their base. Number 7, hand fight. Take advantage of this strong starting position to control the hand opposite your lead and to rip their lead hand down from behind in same stance matchups. There are other reasons to use the A position, of course, as a feint, as part of your long guard flow, as a way to take specific pet punches away from your opponent, and so on. And as we mentioned in our long guard offense video, you also have punches from here. But these are the A position's main strengths, and you should take full advantage of them anytime you take this position. Shifting one hand slot to the right or left for southpaws, we enter LG1B, the B position, the B slot, or simply centerline control. In the B position, the lead hand reaches straight down the middle, making a B line for the opponent's head and creating centerline traffic instead of covering a specific hand. Back in the A position, your primary goal was to disrupt the hand across from your lead, but we don't worry about that here. Our primary goals in the B position are to blind, bully, and block the center line. Blocking the center line doesn't just put your hand in front of their eyes, it puts your hand in front of both straight punches, at least partially, towards the end of the punch. We aren't directly covering either hand, but remember, straight punches travel down the center line. So identifying and covering your opponents is an easy way to disrupt their long-range punches, but doing so won't stop all straight punches all the time. While it is possible to cover both straight punches from here using just one hand, the B position provides only partial coverage. It won't work up close, and you can't stuff either hand from this midline position. The traffic appears much later along the path of the punch, giving the opponent more time to adjust its path and attack over, under, or around your hand. In light of this, you should only take B position if you understand the risks and if you've drilled your lift parries, elbow flips, and long guard blocks to death. This is true of all positions, of course, but even more so of B position. The same goes for your disruptions. Remember, disruption is the defense here. The position won't save you. Opponents can and will punch blind, and it's not that hard for them to find you when they do. They know you're at the end of the arm that's in their face, so stay busy with aggressive traffic, blinds, shoves, posts, feints, and B position punches to stop them punching. and stay frosty with your reactive defense. But while it does have openings, the B position is still a great position. It does a bit of everything at once, and it makes it very easy to transition into A or C position with a small hand movement left or right. You also have access to crossing guards on both sides with a small adjustment, but not the instant access and single lane dominance you get with the A and C positions. In other words, the B position is good for lane control, but not great. Good but not great is also how I would describe the B position's ability to draw punches and set up counters. Leaving both hands uncovered, the B position definitely invites punches better than the C position, which covers too much to make you a tempting target. However, because the B position leaves both of the opponent's hands free to punch, it makes it harder for you to guess which attacks are coming. You can and should use movement and range to influence their punch selection, but you still give them at least twice as many options compared to the A and C positions, where one hand is going to be completely out of the equation. If you're going to use this good but not great position to bait counterpunches, you'll need to be very conscious of your range. I'd also recommend choosing an all-purpose defense, like a pole, so you don't need to rely on a perfect read to make it work. So we've talked about what this position is okay at. What is it great at? First and foremost, the B position is about blinding. Think B for blinder, because this position does it best. Sure, you can cover the eyes from C position, but B position gives your blinder more agility, precision, and reach, since you can use the arm at full extension, and you're moving a small glove instead of your whole big forearm. You should not linger here in range with your hand out and no control of the opponent's gloves, but there's really never a bad time to blind your opponent. Blinds make everything better. Use them from the B position to do just about anything, including cover movement. Cover the opponent's eyes to leave them guessing, then scrambling to catch up. Whether you need to close the gap, get off the line, or back straight out, blinding makes any movement just a little bit safer. Blindside opponents with punches. If you throw your cross down the same pipeline, you can hide it perfectly behind your blinder. But really, any punch will work well if your opponent can't see.
Blind you with the jab, mesmerize you with the jab, brush stroke your eyes with the jab, and then have a right hand right behind it where your brain had no time to register a right hand was coming, no time to steel yourself, no time to prepare yourself, and the right hand puts you to sleep.
Cover setups. Blinds can cover any loading movements or repositioning needed to throw a punch or create an opening for a shove, peel, or pin. Goad opponents, force action and reactions. With all these options available off the blind, it's easy to see how dangerous they are and to understand why your opponent will see them as threats. Indeed, most opponents won't tolerate active blinders in their space. As soon as you deploy one, they'll react by moving away, attacking the hand, or maybe feinting or panic punching. Thus, if you need to force action or get a reaction without committing to big actions yourself, take the B position. The B position is also best for measuring distance and maintaining long range. Holding your hand on the center line lines you up perfectly for a post or shove if you or the opponent steps in. With your hand out in no man's land or sometimes even deep in the opponent's space, these techniques are literally at your fingertips. With its emphasis on blinding and centerline control, the B position is naturally very strong in a hand fight. Your blinder can buy you a second to take high ground, find a crossing guard, or sneak in a punch. Controlling the centerline also stops your opponent from sneaking anything down the middle without a fight, and this middle ground position leaves your hand ready to respond to threats from any direction. As discussed in this old video for short boxing, the B position has excellent anti-head movement capabilities. From here you have control of the center line, and if your opponent tries to slip off to either side or duck under your blinder, they're practically giving you their head or neck for control. Simply drop your hand, get heavy, and get to work. With gravity on your side, you'll probably be able to upset their balance, break their posture, and lock them into an uncomfortable position. Since you're blinding them by default from LG1B, they'll be extra motivated to move their head away from your hand. So this trap is pretty easy to set. Simply taking the position is a good way to trigger their head movement. If they don't take the bait and they react to your blinder another way, they'll probably hold still long enough for you to be able to find them with a shove. Either way, you get an easy posture break and you can follow up however you choose. To review, you should take the B position when you want to do any of the following. Number 1, discourage straight punches with partial 2-for-1 traffic in the straight punch lanes and by blocking their vision. Number 2, blind to cover a punch.
You jab it right, you throw that jab right in his eyes, right there. And you jab, boom, right hand, right behind. Not boom, boom, but Boom, almost like the same punch.
I like to send the cross in right behind the blinder on that same pipeline, but any punch works when the opponent is blind. Number 3. Blind to cover movement. Blinders won't cover lanes like crossing guards, but they can buy you a split second to move or set something up. Number 4. Blind to force action and reactions, similar to how you'd use a feint to goad a passive or jumpy opponent. Number 5. Set up to hand fight with control of the midline, a blinder in place, and your glove in position to attack either hand, or respond to threats from any direction. Number 6. Keep long range with a built-in measuring stick and posting arm in perfect position for shoves and push-offs to stop a hard charging opponent. Number 7. Counter head movement. Walk to them with your blinder up and the center line covered. If they slip around or under your hand, drop it down and get heavy. Number 8. Break posture with posts, shoves, and head control. Even if you're not a long guard fighter, you'll end up in the B position very often for hand fighting, for blinding, for posting, for measuring, when reaching for head control, and anytime your jab is coming in or out. So it's important to know your options and openings from here. Shifting over one more hand slot to the right or left for southpaws and bringing the elbow up, we enter LG1C, the C position or rear lane control. In the C position, your lead hand crosses the midline, reaching over to cover and control the hand on your rear side, while your forearm and elbow cover the lead hand lane. Unlike A position, we're not going all in to disrupt one hand when we reach across. We're actually controlling two hands for the price of one. Though quite advanced for reasons we'll discuss, this is a core long guard position, one you'll use all the time in same stance matchups to take away the jab and hand fight and more. If my comment section is any indication, the C position is one of the most misunderstood parts of the long guard system. To a huge number of people, it seems, the idea of reaching across the body for lead on lead control in a same stance matchup is unheard of or flat out wrong. I understand your concern. You give up punches with that hand, and without proper training, you can feel really open on your lead hand side. Granted, this position does have high skill requirements. In particular, your elbow flips, lift parries, and fades must be sharp, as your opponent will be trying to punch over and under your lead elbow. You'll also need good reads and defensive reactions primed to deal with body shots on that side, but it's not as risky as you think. You give up your ability to punch with the lead hand, true, but you gain unparalleled lane coverage, powerful parries, and unique control tools with the lead hand, while leaving your rear hand free to work or double up the defenses. Let's take a closer look at some of these strengths. Here's what you can do from the C position. By holding the arm more horizontally, we can block both of the opponent's straight punch lanes with just one hand, giving us 2-for-1 coverage. As you can probably imagine, taking away your opponent's longest, least telegraphed, and most direct punches, the jab and cross, makes life a lot harder for them and a lot easier for us. Sometimes holding up your forearm in this way is all it takes to slow the fight down.
Now, if I want to rest in a round, that's when I go to what we call my prevent.
Some people just don't know how to close the gap and lead without their straight punches. Those who do will still need time to feint and work around this obstacle, so this is a good place to go when you need to buy some time. You will need to be ready to defend, as always, but with straight punches out of the equation, most of your mental bandwidth can be saved to watch out for slower shots coming over or under or around your arms. This 2-for-1 coverage makes C position excellent for retreats, entries, and general hand fighting. For retreat in same stance matchups, I have control of the opponent's jab lane, something in front of their cross, and a post ready to stop their advance and shove myself out of range if need be. If my goal is to close the gap and work, this 2-for-1 coverage comes in handy again. I can creep in with two hands watching out for their main range control tool, the jab, and I'll look for opportunities to disrupt their guard as I get closer. All the while, I have something in the way of their power hand, my elbow and forearm, while my own power hand is free to attack any openings I make. Once I get inside, my forearm is in perfect position for a variety of inside fighting techniques. Up close, the C position becomes a true L guard, with the arm locked in the shape of an L, fist and elbow aligned, and held firmly forward to bully and brace against on-rushing opponents. Holding your forearm across their guard like a bar is a high commitment move, making it basically impossible for you to punch with that hand, but what you pay in commitment, you gain in control. There is maybe no better hand trapping option in all of boxing. The bar gives you an oppressive pin, much harder to shake than a conventional hand trap, and with the bar of your forearm held horizontally across the opponent's guard, not only will they be unable to punch, you're also in great position to chicken wing, side door, off balance, grab handles, pry hands apart, and transition to other great inside fighting positions. You can also hold the bar over their eyes to blind. Overall, it's a great place to be on the inside. Unsurprisingly, with its 2-for-1 coverage and double trap potential, C position also gives us excellent crossing guard options. Though you lose tapping punches here as a tool, you won't miss them because C position gives exceptional double lane control with its supersized stop sign. I mainly take C position when I want to exit to my rear hand side, the side my hand is reaching for, since it's easier to trap and create traffic with your hand than your elbow. If you do get close enough to get hands on, you can pull yourself out to that side. The handle is right there, to be taken anytime you choose, and remember, the pull will throw off your opponent's balance for a split second, making the exit even safer. For these reasons, I think rear side crossing guards are best from C position, although they aren't your only option. Unlike the A position, the C position gives you crossing guards on both sides. In this case, it's your forearm and elbow covering the lane your head needs to cross, which again is the lead side lane. Just watch the point of the elbow in boxing competition, and remember it offers less control than you'd get using your hand. While it might come as a bit of a surprise, given how well this position shuts down punch lanes, the C position works very well for baiting attacks, and it is uniquely equipped to set up strong lift, drop, and body shot counters. Let's start with the body shots. All long guard positions leave openings to the body on your lead hand side, but you look even more open in the C position because your elbow is up higher and further off to the side. With this in mind, you can use C position to draw and counter body shots on your lead hand side pretty reliably. You can also set up lift parries from this position, of course. When you're ready, you simply lower the bar, your forearm, opening the path for straight punches, or any other punches to the head, aside from the uppercut. As soon as you read commitment from your opponent, you sweep the bar up through that space, lifting whatever punch was coming off course. You don't really need to be precise with your read here. Any punch traveling through that space will be lifted away. You only have to read the commitment. You can, of course, bait lift counters like this from all long guard positions, but it's harder without the bar. The smaller the parrying tool, the more precise you need to be. For this reason, I prefer the C position when I'm hunting for lift parries. Play with this up and down motion as part of your long guard flow. As with most things in boxing, we want to use the minimum amount of effort required to get the job done. Don't drop your arm right down unless you're comfortable in a low guard or shoulder roll position, in which case enjoy how these two guards flow together. But that's for another video. For the most part, we want small motions and subtle traps to get the job done. Finally, 2-for-1 coverage has tremendous value for hand fighting, allowing you to aggressively hunt one hand with yours while protected behind the shield of your lead forearm or elbow, as well as your rear hand back home. In same stance matchups, expect to spend a lot of time here, fencing lead versus lead, occasionally moving to B position for blinds or A position to set up a pull down trap. Going left on left in same stance hand fights sets up some very nice opportunities to pry the glove away and clear a path for your cross. It's really as simple as taking the high ground on the rear hand side and waiting for your opportunity to rip the hand down.
Sweep his left hand so he can't jump back, sweep and put right up, guy. Yeah, exactly.
On the inside, using the bar, prying is very easy. You can push and pull at the hand on your rear side anytime you want because your glove is right on top of theirs. This position is also best for capitalizing on any openings you make with the pry, since your lead forearm and elbow act as a built-in crossing guard as you punch. Let's review. You take the C position anytime you want to do one of the following. Number 1, slow the fight and free up mental bandwidth with 2-for-1 lane coverage. Number 2, safely move in or out behind 2-for-1 traffic and traps. Number 3, set up strong for the inside fight with powerful forearm controls, L-guard tools, and instant access to inside fighting techniques. Number 4, safely move left or right with C position crossing guards. Rear side exits are strongest, since the glove gives you greater control and handle leverage, but you can go either way. Number 5, safely throw rear hand power shots with C position crossing guards, using the elbow and forearm to cover the lane your head needs to cross. Number 6, bait and counter attacks over or under your forearm with lifts, elbow flips, and drop parries. Number 7, bait to draw body shots and counter with drop parries, or bump back to make them miss. Number 8, set up to hand fight with 2-for-1 lane coverage, a blinder, a shield, and easy access to pries and parries. In summary, the C position is an excellent one, but one where you trade weapons for tools. Make sure you know how to use these tools to their fullest, or the trade-off simply isn't worth it. It might not seem like much is happening when you move from A to B or B to C or even A to C, but veterans know boxing is a game of inches, and these minor hand slot changes have major implications. I hope this video helps you understand what's primed in each position and how to make the most of these long guard tools. As mentioned earlier in my long guard series, these videos are meant as an introduction to these new positions, not as a training program. By reviewing these advanced positions and exploring how they work together, I am offering you a roadmap, something you can use to focus your film study, to better understand some of the drills I'll be sharing later, and to guide you as you explore these advanced forms of defense with a partner you trust. It should go without saying, but I'll say it. You're not meant to hold all of this information in your head while you fight, or even while you train. I'm just laying it all out to give you a sense of the big picture. Use it to plan your drills and ingrain these options until they're muscle memory, so you can flow free and be creative on fight night and in sparring.